The Vorcath Dominion had conquered 412 civilizations. They had never lost a war. Admiral Thrax of the 7th Subjugation Fleet watched Earth's defensive array crumble like paper. Human warships, clumsy, primitive things with their chemical propulsion and projectile weapons, detonated in sequence against his energy lances. The bridge of his dreadnought Undying Hunger shimmered with the light of 4,000 dying humans. Admiral, his tactical officer, clicked with satisfaction. Their command vessel is disabled. They are broadcasting surrender protocols. Thrax's mandibles twitched in amusement. Surrender, they have nothing left to surrender. Open a channel. The main viewscreen flickered to life. A human female, blood running down her face, uniform torn, standing in a burning bridge, stared back at him. Her eyes held something Thrax had seen in 100 conquered species, defiance. "Admiral Thrax," she said, her voice steady despite the smoke. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earth Defense Fleet. I am authorized to negotiate terms." "There are no negotiations," Thrax cut her off. "Your species will be processed, your world stripped, your children sold to the highest bidder. This is the fate of the weak." The human's jaw tightened. "Then you don't know us." "I know your fleet is ash. I know your weapons cannot scratch my hull. I know you are alone." Thrax leaned forward. "The galaxy has watched your death since we arrived. No one is coming to save you, little primate." Captain Vasquez looked past the camera, toward something burning outside her view. When she looked back, her eyes were wet. "You're right," she whispered. "No one is coming." She cut the channel. Thrax's sensor operator squawked in confusion. "Admiral, the human vessel is venting atmosphere. They've opened their airlocks, all of them." On the screen, the human command ship fell silent. No more transmissions, no escape pods, just drifting wreckage and frozen bodies. The Vorcath had just killed the last organized human military resistance. But Thrax noticed something strange. As the Undying Hunger descended toward Earth's blue atmosphere, his sensors detected thousands of smaller craft launching from every continent, not warships, not escape vessels. They were heading for the asteroid belt. "Should we pursue?" his weapons officer asked. Thrax watched the tiny ships disappear into the black. "No, they're refugees. Let them freeze. We have a planet to strip." Below, Earth burned. The Vorcath expected celebration. Instead, they found unease. 3 weeks after the conquest, High Commander Zorn of the Dominion Council summoned Admiral Thrax to the capital world of Vorcath Prime. The council chamber, a vast circular pit lined with the skulls of conquered species, felt colder than usual. "Explain this," Zorn commanded, throwing a data crystal onto the floor. Thrax picked it up. The holographic display showed Earth, or what remained of it. The Vorcath had stripped the surface, melted the oceans for hydrogen, extracted every valuable mineral. The planet was now a cracked, dead husk, standard procedure. "The extraction is ahead of schedule," Thrax said. "We've taken 18 billion tons of." "I don't care about the extraction." Zorn's mandibles clicked in anger. "I care about the transmissions." Thrax frowned. "What transmissions?" Zorn activated the main display. It showed a sensor log from the Vorcath science vessel Infinite Comprehension, still in orbit around Earth's corpse. The ship had detected something impossible, coherent signals coming from the asteroid belt. Not radio, not quantum entanglement, something else. Something that made the ship's AI crash twice before the crew manually rebooted it. "We sent a scout," Zorn continued. "A single corvette. It entered the asteroid field and stopped transmitting." Stopped. Completely no debris, no escape pods, no wreckage, just silence. Zorn stepped closer. "Then we received this." The display changed, a single line of text, repeated on a loop, broadcast on every frequency. "We remember." Thrax felt something he had never experienced in 70 years of conquest. Cold, not from the room, from inside his chest. "They're refugees," he said, hearing the uncertainty in his own voice. "Millions of them hiding in the rocks. They have no shipyards, no fuel, no weapons. They're nothing." "The corvette was armed with plasma cannons and kinetic shields," Zorn said. "It had a crew of 400 veterans. It is now nothing." The council chamber fell silent. Thrax looked back at the message. "We remember." He thought of Captain Vasquez standing in her burning bridge, eyes wet. Then you don't know us. We'll send the 7th Fleet, Thrax decided. Full force. I'll burn the asteroid belt to plasma. When I'm done, there won't be enough left of humanity to remember anything. Zorn nodded slowly. See that you do. The galaxy is watching, Admiral. If word gets out that a conquered species has destroyed one of our warships, it won't happen again. Thrax turned and left the chamber. Behind him, the message continued to broadcast into the void. We remember. Somewhere in the asteroid belt, human eyes were watching back. The 7th Fleet never reached the asteroid belt. Admiral Thrax assembled 42 warships, the largest concentration of Vorcath military power in Sector 7. Dreadnoughts, carriers, destroyers, and support vessels, enough firepower to crack a small moon. They jumped from Vorcath Prime at 800 Standard Time. By 1300 they had vanished. No distress calls, no debris field, no explanation. The Dominion sent scouts. The scouts found nothing. Then they sent a battle cruiser. The battle cruiser's last transmission was a single word: impossible. Then silence. High Commander Zorn did something the Vorcath had never done in 400 conquests. He requested an audience with the Galactic Council. The Council, a bloated bureaucracy of 47 species, most of whom had paid tribute to the Vorcath for decades, assembled in the neutral space of the Citadel. Ambassador Krill of the Xylos Protectorate opened the emergency session with visible irritation. The Vorcath Dominion has called this meeting, Krill announced. State your grievance. Zorn stood in the center of the chamber, his claws tapping against the floor. 3 weeks ago, we conquered a primitive species known as humans from the Sol system. Since then, we have lost 6 ships and over 8,000 soldiers, all in a sector we believed pacified. The chamber buzzed with murmurs. The Xylos ambassador actually laughed. You lost ships to primitives, Krill scoffed. The same primitives who threw metal projectiles at your energy shields. The same, Zorn admitted through gritted mandibles. And what do you want from the Council? Sympathy. The Vorcath have taken everything from everyone in this room. Forgive me if I don't weep for your losses. Zorn slammed his claw on the floor. I want information. Before the humans, did any species encounter them, trade with them, fight them? Silence. Then from the back of the chamber, a small voice. Ambassador Vex of the Gruthan Collective, a species so weak they had paid tribute to the Vorcath for 200 years, spoke up. 2,000 years ago, Vex said quietly, the Gruthan surveyed the Sol system. We classified the planet as unsuitable. Unsuitable, it had primitive primates, it was a free world. Vex's compound eyes flickered. That's not why we left. The chamber went still. Why did you leave? Zorn demanded. Vex was silent for a long moment. Then, because we scanned their moon, the cratered one, Luna they called it, we found artifacts, old things, things that predated the humans themselves. What kind of artifacts? We don't know, we couldn't read them, couldn't understand them, but we knew one thing. Vex looked directly at Zorn. The humans didn't build them, they were built for the humans, as a gift or a trap. We didn't stay to find out which. Zorn's blood ran cold. Built by whom? Vex turned away. That's the terrifying part, Admiral. We scanned the artifacts for 200 years. We never found an answer, but we found the question. He paused. The question was, what loves humanity so much that it would leave weapons scattered across their solar system? Zorn opened his mouth to respond, then his communicator screamed. The 7th Fleet had just been found. 42 ships, 8,000 soldiers. All dead. And painted across the hull of the Undying Hunger, Admiral Thrax's flagship, were 3 words written in human blood. We remember everything. The Gruthan's warning arrived 3 days too late. Ambassador Vex had barely finished speaking when the Vorcath homeworld received its first visitor. Not a ship, not a weapon, something far worse. A transmission. It came from the asteroid belt, the same source as before, but this time it wasn't aimed at the Vorcath. It was aimed at every receiver in the galaxy. Open channel, unencrypted, unstoppable. And it contained instructions. High Commander Zorn watched the transmission unfold on his personal display. It was a schematic, a blueprint for something called a fold engine. The mathematics were elegant, revolutionary, and absolutely terrifying. According to the data, a fold engine could compress space between 2 points, allowing instantaneous travel across any distance. But that wasn't what made Zorn shudder. What made him shudder was the note attached to the schematic. "Thank you for the resources. We used your ships to build this. Watch." Zorn's communicator exploded with reports. Every Vorcath world was receiving the same transmission, every species in the galaxy. The humans had just handed faster-than-light travel, true instantaneous travel, to every civilization that wanted it. "Why would they do that?" his aide whispered. Zorn understood immediately, because now everyone is watching. The first fold event occurred 4 hours later. It happened above Vorcath Prime, the homeworld itself. The sky split open, not with the slow tear of conventional jump drives, but with a surgical incision that bled light. From the wound emerged a ship. But it wasn't a Vorcath ship, or a Xylos ship, or anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was made of asteroids, scavenged hulls, melted down weapons, and at its center a sphere of pulsing, impossible blue light, the fold engine. The ship, if it could be called that, hovered in high orbit, broadcasting on every frequency. "Admiral Thrax, you asked for our surrender, we decline." Zorn watched in horror as the ship began to change. The asteroids rearranged themselves. The hull fragments fused together. The blue light intensified, and when it stopped, the ship had become something else entirely. A mirror. A perfect planet-sized mirror pointed directly at Vorcath Prime. "This is for Captain Vasquez," the broadcast continued. "She was pregnant, by the way. You killed her and her child both." The mirror flashed. Zorn threw himself to the ground as the light erupted, but the light wasn't aimed at him. It was aimed at the planet's surface, specifically at the Vorcath defense grid, every weapon, every shield generator, every military installation. They didn't explode, they melted, all at once, in perfect unison. The Vorcath military, the most powerful force in the galaxy, was now blind and naked. The broadcast continued, "We're not here to conquer you, we're here to teach you. Lesson 1, when you genocide a species, make sure you finish the job." The mirror ship folded space and vanished. On the ground, Zorn stared at the sky. His soldiers were screaming, his planet was defenseless, and somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, humanity was just getting started. The war lasted 11 days. By the end, the Vorcath Dominion no longer existed. Ambassador Krill of the Xylos Protectorate convened a special session of the Galactic Council to document the destruction. The chamber was packed, not with ambassadors, but with military observers. Every species in the galaxy had sent their best tactical minds. They watched the recordings in horrified silence. Day 1, the human mirror ship struck 16 Vorcath outposts simultaneously. No warnings, no demands, just appearance targeting disappearance. The Vorcath couldn't track the fold events, couldn't predict them, couldn't stop them. Their casualty count, 12 million. Day 3, the humans stopped hitting military targets. They started hitting communication relays instead. Every Vorcath world went dark. No coordination, no reinforcements, no hope. Each world was isolated, alone, waiting for the mirror to appear in their sky. Day 5, the message changed. No more "we remember." Now it was a single question, broadcast on a loop. "Do you understand yet?" The Vorcath High Command fractured. Admiral Thrax, who had survived the destruction of his fleet by hiding in an escape pod, was found dead in his bunker. Self-inflicted, he had carved 4 words into his own chest. They were not primitive. Day 7, the humans stopped using the mirror ship. They started using the asteroids themselves. Krill paused the recording. The image froze on a Vorcath ship, a dreadnought fully armed being torn apart by rocks, not propelled rocks, not explosive rocks, just rocks moving with impossible precision, dancing between energy beams, finding every weakness. "This is the part that terrifies me," Krill admitted to the assembly. "We assumed the humans were using the fold engine as a weapon. They're not. The fold engine is just their engine. The weapon is something else." "What?" demanded the Ryloth ambassador. Krill restarted the recording. Watch. Day 9, the human fleet, now numbering over 200 ships, all built from asteroid debris and melted Vorcath hulls, folded into the Vorcath home system. They didn't attack the planet, they attacked the star. The recording showed a single human vessel approaching Vorcath Prime's sun. It deployed a device the size of a small moon. The device unfolded like a flower, revealing something that made every scientist in the chamber gasp. A Dyson swarm in miniature. The device wrapped itself around the star's magnetic poles and, squeezed, the star flared. The solar wind intensified. Every Vorcath satellite, every orbital platform, every ship in the system lost power simultaneously. The humans had just turned off the sun. Day 11, the Vorcath surrendered, unconditionally. The human response was broadcast to every world in the galaxy. Accepted. Then silence. The council chamber erupted with questions. How, why, what happens now? Ambassador Krill raised a trembling hand. There's more, he said. The humans sent a second transmission. It's short. I'll play it now. The display flickered. A human face appeared, young, scarred, ancient all at once. A female voice spoke. You're all wondering if you're next. You're not, unless you do what the Vorcath did, unless you look at a world and see prey, unless you forget that we are not alone in this galaxy. She paused. We found something out there in the dark, something that loved us before we were born, something that taught us how to fold space, something that's still out there, watching, waiting. Her eyes hardened. We're its children, and we learned from the Vorcath that mercy is a weakness. So here's our mercy. Don't test us, don't hunt us, don't even look at us wrong. She smiled. It was the coldest thing the council had ever seen. Because next time we won't turn off your sun, we'll turn off your reality. The transmission ended. The chamber was silent. And in the darkness between galaxies, something ancient stirred. The galaxy waited for the shoe to drop. It didn't, not immediately. For 6 months after the Vorcath's surrender, humanity withdrew to the Sol system. Their ships folded in and out of sensor range, always present, never seen. The asteroid belt, once a refugee camp, was now a fortress. And Earth was gone. The Vorcath had stripped it to the core. Nothing remained but a dead, frozen marble. Except something was happening. The Gruthin Collective, the same species that had warned about the lunar artifacts, maintained a surveillance post on the edge of the Sol system. Their sensors detected impossible readings, energy signatures that didn't match any known physics, gravitational anomalies that bent light into poetry. Ambassador Vex reported directly to the council. They're building something, I don't know what, but the energy output it's like a star, a small star, contained inside a structure the size of a moon. What would anyone need with that much power? Krill asked. Vex's compound eyes flickered. To talk to whatever left those artifacts, to say hello to their ancient benefactor. Krill felt his exoskeleton prickle, and if the benefactor answers. Vex didn't reply. The Vorcath, meanwhile, had been reduced to a protectorate species. Their military was dismantled. Their colonies were administered by a human-appointed council. Their homeworld, once the seat of an empire, was now a memorial. Every day, at exactly noon local time, a hologram appeared in the sky above every Vorcath city. It showed Captain Vasquez, pregnant, burning, dying. And beneath her image, the words, "This is what you did, remember it." The psychological damage was absolute. Vorcath suicide rates climbed to 90%. Within 3 months, the species had stopped reproducing altogether. They had become ghosts in their own bodies, haunted by the face of a dead human woman. The galaxy noticed, and the galaxy was terrified. Other conquerors, species who had enslaved, pillaged, and exterminated for millennia, began to change. The Ryloth Empire freed its slaves. The Xylos Protectorate returned stolen territories. The Cathari hive mind dissolved itself into peaceful collectives. No one wanted to be the next Vorcath. But the silence, the complete lack of human communication, was worse than any threat. The humans simply vanished. Their ships stopped patrolling. Their transmissions stopped broadcasting. Even their fold events stopped appearing on sensors. It was as if humanity had ceased to exist. High Counselor Krill convened an emergency session. We need to know what they're doing. If they're building a weapon, if they're leaving, we need to know. How? Asked the Gruthan ambassador. Every probe we send to Sol stops transmitting at the heliopause. Every scout ship turns back, its crew reporting the same thing: dreams, vivid, terrifying dreams of a pregnant woman standing in a burning room, asking a single question. What question? Why didn't you help us? The chamber went silent. Krill looked around at the assembled species, 47 civilizations, representing trillions of lives, and realized the truth. They had all watched the Vorcath destroy Earth. They had all seen the broadcasts, heard the pleas for help, and they had all done nothing. The humans hadn't forgotten. They were just waiting. And then, on the 365th day after Earth's fall, the waiting ended. Every sensor in the galaxy detected it simultaneously. A pulse, not electromagnetic, not gravitational, something deeper, something that resonated in the bones of reality itself. It came from the center of the Sol system, from the structure the Gruthan had detected. And it carried a message. They're awake and they're hungry. The galaxy screamed. The thing that loved humanity finally answered. It emerged from the void between galaxies, not a ship, not a creature, but something older than physics itself. The Gruthan called it the Unmaker, the Ryloth called it the First Hunger, the Vorcath in their final days called it the Mother's Womb. But the humans called it something else. We named her Vasquez. The Galactic Council assembled for the last time. Ambassador Krill stood at the podium, his voice barely a whisper. 3 hours ago, the entity entered the Milky Way. It bypassed the Sol system entirely. It headed straight for Vorcath Prime. The humans, they didn't stop it. They didn't even try. The display flickered to life. It showed Vorcath Prime, the dead world, the memorial planet, the place where the hologram of Captain Vasquez appeared every day at noon. The hologram was gone. In its place was a figure, female, pregnant, standing on the surface of the dead planet as if the vacuum meant nothing. Her eyes were open, they were made of stars. And she was walking. Every step she took cracked the planet's crust. Every breath she drew pulled atmosphere from nowhere. Every heartbeat sent shockwaves through the mantle. She's waking it up, Vex whispered. The planet, she's making it alive again. On the screen, Captain Vasquez, or whatever wore her face, raised her arms. The dead oceans began to flow. The barren soil began to bloom. The frozen core began to spin. In 3 hours, the entity restored an entire planet. Then she spoke. Her voice echoed across every frequency, every dimension, every possible reality simultaneously. This is what you destroyed. This is what I remember. This is what I will always remember. And then she turned. She looked not at the Vorcath, who were already dead in spirit, but at the Galactic Council, at the 47 species who had watched, who had done nothing, who had assumed that humanity's suffering was not their problem. Her star eyes narrowed. You are all Vorcath now, not because you conquered, but because you watched, because you let it happen, because you told yourselves it wasn't your fight. Krill fell to his knees. Around him, ambassadors wept, screamed, prayed. Here is your mercy, the entity continued. The Vorcath are dead, their empire is dust, their name will be forgotten. But you get to live, you get to remember. You get to look at the void where Sol used to be and wonder if we're still there, if we're still watching, if we still remember. The display showed Sol one last time. The structure, the moon-sized device, was gone. So were the asteroids, so were the ships, so were the humans. Sol was empty. We're going home now, back to the place between galaxies, back to the mother who loved us before we were born. We're taking Earth with us. She'll be our heart, our memory, our warning. The entity smiled. It was Captain Vasquez's smile, burning, pregnant, defiant. Don't come looking for us. We won't be lost. We'll be waiting. And if you ever forget what you did, just look at the dead spot in your sky. That's where we used to be. That's where you left us. That's where we learned to become gods. The transmission ended. The entity vanished, and the Milky Way galaxy fell silent. Epilogue. 10,000 years later, civilizations still told the story. They told of a small, violent species that should have died, that should have stayed dead, that should have accepted its place in the food chain. Instead, they burned so brightly that the universe itself looked away. Children asked their parents, "Are the humans still out there?" And the parents answered, "We don't know, we hope not, but sometimes at night, when the void between galaxies seems a little darker than it should, we pray that they're sleeping, that they're dreaming, that they're not remembering." Remembering what? Remembering that we watched them die and did nothing. The children would look up at the stars, the cold, indifferent stars, and shiver. Because in the darkness between galaxies, something was watching back. And it was smiling. The end.